everyone, my name is Eric Hopkins, aka JEL. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. So AEW this week basically was AEW Dynamite because there was no Collision or Rampage over the weekend here. So let's get into AEW Dynamite from May 8th, 2024. Obviously, I thought this was a pretty decent card on paper. Not gonna lie, I don't think this was like their best Dynamite they've ever done, in my opinion. But I thought I had some good newsworthy stuff on the show, especially leading up to Double or Nothing. One match was definitely announced, and we got a few others that were definitely in that heading in that direction. We're probably going to get them confirmed here before too much longer. So without any further ado, let's get into the first thing that happened on the show. We had Adam Copeland arriving to the building, and he basically looked into the camera and said, you want the rated R superstar House of Black, you're going to get him tonight, because the match against Brody King for the TNT Championship in the main event will now be no disqualification. So right off the bat, they kind of set the tone, getting the crowd excited for the main event. So good to see that. I thought the match was great. We'll get into that once we get into the main event segment. But yeah, I'm telling you, Adam Copeland is having a really good run here, especially compared to his run as Edge in the last year or so in WWE. They tried to do the judgment thing with him, but then Vince kind of wanted to do this thing where it kind of became like a new gimmicky stable that kind of was using a lot of Undertaker magic and things like that, which I'm glad that they kind of ended up not going with eventually. It's the Judgment Day now is kind of what I think Edge kind of envisioned it to be at the time, and he would have been great as the leader if they were to continue to do that path. But for whatever reason, they decided not to, and Adam Copeland kind of got shoved to the side a little bit in WWE there. But I think here in AEW, he's basically on TV every single week, and this week he's wrestling 2 matches in the same week. So good to see him having a lot of fun here. Glad he's having a good time, and hopefully he'll be able to end his career the way he wants to do it, wrestling in the ring and doing the things he wants to do with the opponents he wants to do, kind of like Bryan Danielson. So hope to see that moving forward. But yeah, good start to the show for sure. After Adam Copeland's backstage interview, we went to the ring to watch Orange Cassidy take on Trent Beretta in a grudge match. As soon as the bell rang, both men were throwing hands at each other. So these guys definitely don't like each other at all anymore. Best friends are done. Orange Cassidy looked more aggressive than usual and took control immediately. They eventually took the fight out of the ring and into the crowd as Orange Cassidy continued to be the aggressor. Don Callis ended up showing up after they made it back to the ring, and both men were trying to recover. Callis ended up on commentary for a lot of the show, actually. The crowd was very vocal about being unhappy to see him, Don Callis, that is. So yeah, during the break, Trent and Orange Cassidy went back and forth. They did a good job making it look like Trent Beretta knew all of Cassidy's tricks and had a counter for each and every one of them, as he should if he's been his tag team partner for a long time. Since this fight was so personal, neither man was interested in getting the pin quickly, so they took a long time to get to the first pinfall attempt. They tried to cover it up on I wouldn't say covered up. Tony Schiavone was kind of telling the story on commentary about how neither guy wants to pin the other. They just want to beat the living hell out of each other. So it made some narrative sense to do that. I don't know if it was a cover up per se, but it was just Tony Schiavone trying to continue the narrative of the storytelling that they were putting here between the two guys' animosity for one another. Both men removed a turnbuckle pad, and Orange Cassidy was able to send Trent Beretta into the exposed metal before rolling him up for a pin. As soon as he was back up, Trent Beretta attacked Orange Cassidy after the match, though, because obviously Trent Beretta tried to pull the turnbuckle pad off first, but he got caught by the referee. While he was arguing with the referee is when Orange Cassidy pulled the pad off himself. Referee didn't see that, and then Trent got caught with it. So I like the storytelling and good storytelling there with the Orange Cassidy outsmarting Trent. But of course that enraged Trent Beretta because he can't handle the loss here, and he was given Orange Cassidy multiple pile drivers during this match. Then he gives him another kind of like a spike pile driver on the steel ring steps on the outside. Orange Cassidy tried to crawl up underneath the ring, but that's when Trent Beretta also tried to catapult his neck into the ring apparatus that was made of metal underneath the ring as well. So he was trying to, as they were saying on commentary, Don Callis was afraid that he was trying to kill Orange here. That was when Don Callis tried to break this up here. And of course, Chris Statlander came down to ringside to try to talk some sense into Trent Beretta as well, which was a funny moment after Don Callis actually, believe it or not, left with Orange Cassidy once again up the ramp. And there was a moment there after they left that Chris Statlander was looking at Trent Beretta, and Trent Beretta just looked at her and said, "Shut the F up." It was just like, it was a pretty cool spot there. Not advocating for, say sort of things to women, obviously respect the ladies out there. But it was a great when it comes to pro wrestling and the storytelling they're telling there. But I thought I got a little bit of a laugh out of that because Trent Beretta is a douchebag heel, and he's doing a great job with that character. So like this, and still kind of curious as where they're going with Orange Cassidy and Don Callis. Again, to me, Trent Beretta seems like he would fit more with Don Callis than Orange Cassidy would. So I'm just kind of wondered where they're going to take this. I guess we just gotta have to wait and see. It's adding that intrigue and kind of gets you curious and makes you want to watch next week. So in that regard, job well done. After this, we had Kenny Omega. He gave a promo from a hospital bed after he was attacked last week by the Young Bucks, Jack Perry, and Kazuchika Okada. He said at Double or Nothing, he is booking Anarchy in the arena. It will be the New Elite versus FTR and two men who will be revealed at some point during the show tonight. And obviously, that'll be the main event segment after the main event match later on. Interesting to me that I mean, obviously, he's in the hospital bed playing up the fact that he took some shots to his gut after he was diagnosed with diverticulitis. But to me, the interesting thing to me about this whole power struggle in AEW right now is we've got two sets of EVPs, basically. We've got Kenny Omega over here, and then we've got the Young Bucks on this side. And I guess Tony Khan can kind of be over here with uh, Kenny Omega if he ever decides to come back and book some matches or whatever on camera. It sounds like, Kenny Omega will be doing some matchmaking as well as the Young Bucks as well. But to me, it's like, you got two factions who are warring against each other making matches. So if Kenny Omega comes out and says, "I'm going to book Anarchy in the arena at Double or Nothing," which will be a lot of fun. Don't get me wrong, but why doesn't the Young Bucks just come out and say, "No, we're not doing that"? Yeah, that part to me is like there's not a whole lot of explanation as to why they just don't sit there and be like, just refuse to do it. They also have EVP powers. They're like, no, we're going to change that match. And they very well may like add stuff to that match and make stipulations or something. But they just kind of went along with it as if they had to go and do the match at the end of the show. It was kind of like, all right, that's a little awkward for me. So for me, it just kind of, I would like to have them explain maybe why the Young Bucks and the Elite have to go along with this now that Kenny Omega said it. But again, I guess that's a nitpick all in all, at the end of the day. But it'll be a fun match at Double or Nothing. And once we get into the end of the show here, we'll get into who the other two mystery partners are going to be. But yeah, hopefully Kenny Omega is fine. I'm sure he's doing just fine after that. It's just he's still not 100% cleared to come back. A lot of fans were hoping he would actually compete in this Anarchy in the arena match, but it was not to be. But I think who they got to be in the match is actually a lot of fun. And we'll get into that here in a little while. We got an interview with Serena Deeb and Tony Schiavone on the ramp. Serena Deeb said losing to Tony Storm is not an option for her and spoke about how hard it was for her to return. Storm came out and mocked her. Serena Deeb then ended up knocking her out cold with a right hand. So, yeah, definitely setting up their women's world championship match at AEW Double or Nothing on May 26th. So, of course, I did feel sympathy for Serena Deeb. She talked about how she'd gone through a lot of seizures and things like that on top of everything else, I'm sure. So that's terrible to hear. I hope she's okay, and I hope they've got her squared away. Obviously, she's been cleared, so I'm not too worried about it from a wrestling standpoint or anything like that. But yeah, if she's ready to go, I think, like I said before, I want Tony Storm to drop the title to Serena Deeb here. I think Serena Deeb is absolutely deserving. I know this crowd here in Edmonton were kind of chanting for their hometown hockey team here, the Oilers, a little bit during this promo here. I don't know if they were a little bored by the promo or what it was, but I thought it did its job well of setting up their main event match at Double or Nothing, and of course, it also set up the match here in a little bit with Mariah May and Harley Cameron. So it also set up the reason why Tony Storm was not able to be out there with her. So in that regard, I thought it did a good job as well. So yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to this match. I think it'll be a lot of fun. But we'll have to see what they do with the Women's World Championship, and who they decide to keep it on, or if they decide to put it on Serena Deeb. I'll have to wait and see. But I love Tony Storm. But I just think it's kind of maybe a little bit time for a change here in the women's division. The next match saw Mariah May take on Harley Cameron. Saraya was at ringside, but Mariah May was flying solo after Luther carried Tony Storm away after she got knocked out. So this was a one-on-one match. The former QTV personality had the upper hand early on, but once May recovered, she began controlling the pace a bit more during the break. Saraya interfered by throwing May into the barricade while the ref was distracted. This ended up being the best performance we have seen from Harley Cameron in the ring. And thankfully, AEW gave them enough time, so nothing felt rushed here. An in-ring perspective, though, this was a solid outing for both women. After Mariah May scored the win, Mina Shirakawa made the save as Harley Cameron and Saraya kept attacking her after the match. Mariah May scooped her up, and they almost kissed each other, much like they did before. But they decided to have some champagne instead. So, yeah, interestingly, it looked like Mariah May maybe looked like a little scored that she didn't get the kiss there. But interesting. It sounds like we're probably going to be setting up a Mariah May and Mina Shirakawa from Stardom, is where she's from, versus Saraya and Harley Cameron at Double or Nothing. By the looks of it, a tag team women's match here. So, yeah, that could be fun. I don't know exactly where they're going to go with some of the storytelling elements of it. I'm still kind of hoping to see Saraya in the ring again. So I'm hoping that's what they end up doing. So in that regard, we got another match potentially being set up for the pay-per-view coming up here on Memorial Day weekend. We had a segment in the back where Pac was being interviewed when the Bang Bang Gang or the Bullet Club Gold walked up carrying now 3 sets of Trios championships here. You got the AEW Trios championships and the Ring of Honor 6-man championships as well. They're now carrying the pink AEW Trios championships that they won off the Acclaimed, and along with the black strapped AEW Trios championships that they have as well. So at some point, you got this is a lot of hardware to be carried around here. You would think they would kind of, since they are merged now, they kind of, unified those titles. We get one either new set of belts, or we just get rid of 2 of them and keep one of them here. But either way, it sounds like they were also teasing the potential to possibly have a Trios championship match at Double or Nothing between Pac and the Death Triangle, along with Penta El Zero Mero and Ray Phoenix. So we could possibly be getting that, unless Ray Phoenix is again injured. I thought I read that somewhere that he might already be hurt again after returning just this last week. So we'll have to wait and see how that goes. Either way, we could at least be getting Jay White versus Pac, which I'm 100% down for that, because those 2 guys are absolutely outstanding, and those 2 could have a great singles match and a singles feud in the AEW. So either way, it sounds like we've got some sort of match brewing here for Double or Nothing. So again, just building out the card a little bit here a few weeks out. So doing a good job at that, even though some of these matches are not officially announced yet. Next up, we had the AEW World Champion Swerve Strickland. He came down to the ring and said he was in a fighting mood because Christian Cage and his crew attacked him and Prince Nana last week. No Prince Nana on the show this week. He's selling the injuries from last week. So Swerve came down here alone to start. And that's when the patriarchy showed up with Christian Cage. But after they came down and started to run their mouth a little bit, Christian Cage did. We got Brian Cage and the Mogul Embassy, who came from the crowd to provide backup for Swerve, as Swerve told Christian Cage last week that this week he wasn't going to be coming alone. Shockingly, Swerve's own men attacked him, though, as Christian smiled. So the segment ended with Swerve being put through an announce table by the Mogul Embassy here, which I thought was actually really interesting. I couldn't understand exactly what was going on here. I mean, it's kind of reminded me a little bit of some of the swerves that's been going on WWE television with like the bloodline, just popping up out of nowhere. Then all of a sudden you get like a big shock. It didn't quite hit as well because obviously it doesn't have that storytelling behind it just yet. But I think what they're doing here is intriguing to say the least. It sounds like maybe the Mogul Embassy is a little jealous of Swerve's success potentially. So in that regard, I really liked it. So at least it's going to be pushing them a little bit, and maybe Swerve could have some matches with these guys as well on top of his feud with Christian Cage. But yeah, I mean, this was interesting to me. And the more interesting thing about this, even more so, is whether or not did Christian Cage pay the Mogul Embassy to do this, or what happened. But after the segment, we saw the Young Bucks in the back doing their EVP roles and monitoring the show. That's when Christian Cage and his crew walked up and shook their hands. And Christian Cage said that was a great idea. I'm looking forward to our business working relationship here. So it sounds like the Young Bucks are the ones who sabotaged Swerve Strickland. So interestingly, will Swerve Strickland want to now take his frustrations out on the Young Bucks? It's right now, Swerve Strickland is outgunned here. He's got a lot of guys that are aiming for him. Now he is the world champion, so everybody's going to be gunning for you. So that's it makes absolute sense there. So we'll have to see what they do with Swerve Strickland. It sounds like his championship is definitely going to be pulled in a couple different directions here, especially after the Christian Cage match at Double or Nothing. Obviously, I think Christian Cage is not winning that match. But it just depends on how they tell the story. The match is going to be a lot of fun. I think it could have a lot of chaotic elements to it, especially when you're adding all these other elements on top of it. So I'm interested to see what they do with it, and I can't wait to see how they continue Swerve Strickland's title reign here. But yeah, very intriguing stuff for sure. Willow Nightingale gave a promo backstage before the next match, and I thought this was one of her best promos she's cut here in AEW. She's got a lot of talent. I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with Willow Nightingale. But obviously, I think that Mercedes Moné is probably going to be winning this TBS championship from her at Double or Nothing. But I thought this was one of the better promos she's cut. She's been doing a great job with everything that she's been given. I think the match between Mercedes Moné and Willow Nightingale will be a great match. Obviously, everybody's anticipating what Mercedes Moné will look like now here in AEW. Obviously, with Willow on a hot streak here, I think she's going to bring Mercedes Moné to a great match, even if Mercedes is a little rusty coming off the injury. So looking forward to that at AEW Double or Nothing, and I think it'll be a fun time. Next match saw Jay White taking on Rocky Romero with a shot at the trios titles on the line. So I'm assuming that Rocky Romero and some partners would have taken on the Guns had he won this match, but that was not to be. Obviously, the Guns were at ringside while Romero was going it alone here. Both of these men are celebrated workers, so it's not going to surprise anyone to hear that they worked really well together. It took them almost no time to go from 0 to 60 here. The match was a little bit of everything, and they delivered some of the best action we've seen all night. Switchblade, of course, then won with the Blade Runner to end a fun performance. Good match between the two guys for sure. But yeah, obviously Jay White is pretty much outmatched Rocky Romero in this instance. So, and of course he's got the numbers game on his side too. So again, hopefully we'll get some a little bit of pack here. Not sure what they're doing with Rocky Romero. I know he's talking about how he wants to win championship gold, and I think he was taking a shot here. Did not succeed here. So maybe he'll try for some other titles, and maybe one of these days he'll actually get one. Maybe I can maybe see him winning the title off of Chris Jericho. That could definitely be something that could happen for sure. But I don't know if he's ready for like the TNT Championship or the Continental Classic title or the International Championship or anything like that just yet. We'll have to wait and see what they do with him. But they definitely got an idea with Rocky Romero here, and they're definitely playing it out. But I'm just taking a wait and see approach with this and see where it goes. After this, we had Chris Jericho and Big Bill, the Learning Tree, come down here and gave a big squash match for sure. Two local talents were booked in a tag team match against these two. It was a really, it was the squashiest of squash matches I've ever seen. So yeah, I mean, this was nothing major here. The biggest part of this was obviously Jericho having a promo at the end of this match. He was just being, just super nice, super, again, just acting like a prom queen or like a I don't know. It's just crazy. Like he's playing into this fact that people were booing him like crazy, and he's just having a lot of fun with it. He even purposely made a mistake of saying they were in Calgary to get some heat, and of course the crowds chanted "You effed up, you effed up" from here in Edmonton. But Jericho did it on purpose. It was not a screw up. He meant to do that, but he played it off like, "Oh, I'm sorry. You have every right to boo me on that. I did a bad job. I apologize for that. So I'll be better." It was just kind of hilarious to me. But it was a nice little thank you speech after the match, and I thought it was a lot of fun. Of course, Tony Schiavone got in the ring and said that Hook will be returning next week. So we'll see how that plays into everything. Hook may get demolished by Big Bill. So we'll see if we get a little bit of again a storyline furthering there, and again a double or nothing. Maybe we'll get a match with Big Bill and Hook. That could be a thing, and maybe Jericho could be on the outside as a learning tree. We'll have to wait and see, but that's my prediction. We'll see what happens. The main event of this week's show was a no disqualification match for the TNT Championship between Adam Copeland and Brody King. This was Adam Copeland's second title defense against a member of the House of Black. They started out surprisingly normal with a lockup and a side headlock from King. He easily wiped out Copeland with a shoulder block. They took the fight out of the ring during the break and began making use of the stipulations by bringing some weapons into the ring. Brody King put the rated R superstar through the ringer until Adam Copeland was able to use a chair to dish out some punishment. Brody King was busted open and smiled at Adam Copeland as the champ slapped him across the face. This match lasted through the last two commercial breaks of the show. Not always a big fan of commercial breaks in wrestling matches, but I understand it's something that we have to just deal with in both companies and all companies that are on television at this point. This was as violent and physical as promised. Brody King may not have won the title, but he showed the world he is capable of being a top singles talent in this match. The champion retained his title with his trademark spear to end a brutal fight here. So yeah, after the match, we got Brody King was continuing the attack on Adam Copeland here to kind of help the House of Black gain the advantage going into the pay-per-view. That brought out Kyle O'Reilly, who last week said that he would back up Adam Copeland if he needed it. So good to see Kyle O'Reilly. An interesting little combo here. Could have a nice friendship here, but in the spirit of competition, it sounds like we're also going to be getting a match this Saturday on Collision as Kyle O'Reilly in the back said, as Copeland was thanking him for helping him out in the ring, as he said he was in trouble after Brody King was assaulting him, that Kyle O'Reilly, basically kind of looked at the title and be like, well, what, you owe me. Why don't you put that title on the line this Saturday for the Cope Open on Collision? So it sounds like we're getting a TNT Championship match for the title here between these two guys. This could be fun. Kyle O'Reilly is obviously coming back from a big injury, and Adam Copeland is having a run of a lifetime right now. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this match. This could very well main event the show. So yeah, obviously I think Adam Copeland is going to retain here. We're going to be getting Malachi Black versus Adam Copeland at Double or Nothing. But again, this could be one of those instances where Copeland is having a lot of fun with his opponents and getting to wrestle who he wants to wrestle and helping the younger talent out. And Kyle O'Reilly's going to look great in a loss here. And I got a feeling Malachi Black and the House of Black will get involved, and that's kind of how they'll explain Kyle O'Reilly kind of getting screwed over here. And maybe we'll get Adam Copeland and Kyle O'Reilly in a tag team against the House of Black in a certain way too. So that could also happen as well. So a lot of fun here. So I'm looking forward to this on Saturday. We had a quick backstage interview segment with Mercedes Moné. She was asking, people were asking her like if she's going to be able to live up to what she once was, and if she's, still ready to go after everything she's been through. And of course, she said she's going to be better than ever because she is that bitch. And money talks. Typical Mercedes Moné promo here. Nothing out of the ordinary. But again, I would like to see a little bit more physicality between Mercedes Moné and Willow Nightingale leading into the pay per view. Obviously, we got the whole storyline angle of the fact that Willow Nightingale inadvertently injured Mercedes Moné in New Japan. But yeah, I think they just kind of need to do a little bit here to kind of further the storyline going into Double or Nothing here. Because right now, I just kind of feel like the last few weeks, last week, Mercedes wasn't even on the show, and we've just had some backstage promos and video segments to kind of, to recap what's been going on between the two. But we need to kind of get some new stuff being told as well. So hopefully next week and leading into the pay per view, we're going to get more of that as well. Back in the arena for the main event of the show, we saw the Elite. They come out saying the show would only end when they said it could. It was funny to hear Matthew Jackson also talking about how he asked the network for an overrun, which is hilarious because Tony Khan always gets the overrun and he'll promote it on X and things like that. So that was kind of funny. I chuckled at that. Kazuchika Okada taunted Kenny Omega, and the Young Bucks did the same to Tony Khan. That brought out FTR to respond and reveal who their partners were going to be at Double or Nothing. The first partner that was revealed was, of course, Eddie Kingston. But the crazy psychopath himself is going to get himself involved here. So now we have 3 against 4. And that is when, of course, Bryan Danielson came out to join as well. And they all walked down to the ring, of course. And then they went nose to nose with the new Elite here, and definitely teasing this Anarchy in the arena match. And then of course it broke out into a big brawl as the show went off the air here. But yeah, these 8 guys are going to tear it up at Double or Nothing. This is going to be a fun match. It'll be a first time to see Okada in this type of element as well. Bryan Danielson, though, of course, I'm sure he wants to go at it with Okada again for sure. So yeah, that could be a lot of fun too. So yeah, I mean, this sounds like it's going to be great. I like the fact that AEW is doing a good job of, like I said, building the show up. We've got now, I think, 5 official matches for the show and about 3 other matches pretty well teased on this show as well. So sounds like the card's taking shape. It's going to be a lot of fun. And I'm looking forward to Double or Nothing at the end of the month here. It's definitely one of my favorite things to do on Memorial Day weekend, as every year I go to the Indy 500 with a couple buddies of mine, as well as that evening I come home from the race and I get to watch the show. Or if I'm too tired, it gives me something to do on Monday when I'm off of work. So I'm excited for this. But the real question here is, though, guys, what did you guys think of AEW Dynamite this week? Did you like the fact that they're now teasing Anarchy in the arena, that's going to be happening? This is the 3rd time this match has happened. So it'll be interesting to see how this goes. Obviously, the last 2 have been great, been a lot of fun. Are you excited for Double or Nothing? What do you think of the Dynamite this week? Did you think it was a good show? Comment below. Let me know what you guys think. And don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. And until my next video, guys, take care. And God bless.